What is up, everybody? Welcome back to the Hills Are Silent podcast, where we chop in the gut about the games of yesterday, today, and tomorrow. Got some good games to talk about. Definitely a horror-themed episode for you. I don't know why I'm talking like this, like Christopher Walken, but I'm gonna keep talking. So, without further ado, let's dive right in. Mitch, how you been, man? How you feeling? It's a weekday. I'm tired. Don't know where my energy is coming from. I'm pulling it out of thin air. How you holding up?
Yeah, I'm around the same. We're ramping up my busy time here at work, so I am also getting very annoyed at people. Very tired of the corporate America that I am stuck in. But I'm also here. I'm energized. I'm ready to go. And I'm excited to hear about the game that you are going to talk about.
Oh, yeah, man. Oh, yeah. Finally gotten to it. I know we talk about Resident Evil nonstop on this podcast, but it is a damn good franchise. And I've beaten just about every single Resident Evil that's ever been released. There may be a few scragglers, like I never beat that Game Boy Color game, but that's fine. I'll let that one slide. I don't feel the need to finish that one. But anyway, as far as I recall, there are only 3 Resident Evils I have not completed. That is Resident Evil Outbreak, Volume 2 or File 2 or Chapter 2 or whatever it's called. Because you and I beat the first one earlier this year. Resident Evil 4 Remake, which just came out. But I'm sure I'll beat that eventually, just waiting for the price to come down a little bit, get a good deal on it, and then I'll crank through that one. But in the meantime, I've been going through the third and final Resident Evil game that I still need to beat, and that is Resident Evil 8 Village. So my mama, bless her heart, got me this game for Christmas last year. So it has been sitting on my backlog for far too long. Finally popped it in the PlayStation 4 Pro, mind you. So, and yeah, we said it before, I'll say it again, man, that Resident Evil engine, just runs like a charm on any console. It's just buttery smooth, just smooth as butter, man. It looks so fantastic. And I gotta say, I was not super psyched to play this one because I don't know, I had mixed feelings about Resident Evil 7. At some points, I was really digging it, and at other points, it just seemed like it was straying a little too far away from the typical Resident Evil gameplay and Resident Evil lore. So I was apprehensive about Resident Evil Village. Don't get me wrong, I liked Resident Evil 7, and I greatly appreciated that it was a return to form and more of an actual scary game, unlike Resident Evil 4, 5, and 6 before it. But anyway, Resident Evil 8 started up right off the bat. I didn't like the characters. Didn't like Ethan at Resident Evil 7. Still don't like him. He's just not a likable guy. He's just
nobody does.
Wooden character, no personality. His wife is just awful. She is just, there's no redeeming qualities about her. And the game starts out with the two of them at home. And of course they're arguing and bickering, and it's just like, horrible relationship. Don't even want to watch this. And then I think like somebody breaks in, and then Ethan wakes up and his wife's gone, his baby's been kidnapped, and he's for some reason in this village in the middle of who knows where. And after that intro, man, it just sucked me in. I know a lot of people were saying that they weren't really pulled into Resident Evil Village, but I was. I don't know what they were talking about, because this is like, I like it better than 7. I think it's more of a fine-tuned experience for what they were going for with 7. Like, they kind of like just polished it up. And the graphics are absolutely amazing. Like, everything looks so detailed and realistic. And in the first area the first level you really go into is, I can't even pronounce her name, but Lady Dimitrescu.
Lady D. Everybody just says Lady D.
Lady D. I'll call her Lady D. her mansion is just, man, there is so much detail in every room. It is just the most ballin' mansion ever, with just all kinds of antiques and just crazy detail, and it's got this old look to it. I would just stop and like look at a bookshelf because it was just that detailed, and it was just looks like master carpenters and master craftsmen and master antique makers made every little bit of this mansion. And it's also all super creepy because of it. And to me, it just feels like a perfect blend of that first-person style gameplay that was established in Resident Evil 7, but it also has a lot of like throwbacks to Resident Evil 4. And I've said this before in older episodes, I did not like Resident Evil 4 when it first came out. Because to me, it was just horrible that it completely threw out all the horror elements of Resident Evil and just made it a pure action game. And I was really bitter about that. But then years later, I came back and played it with a fresh mind, and I learned to appreciate it for what it was. And there are some great game mechanics that were established in Resident Evil 4 that I really think changed the industry. A lot of third-person shooters that followed Resident Evil 4 definitely borrowed from its formula. But Resident Evil Village, it just has that addictive gameplay of exploration, tons of jump scares. It's just ridiculous how many times I jumped. Like, I would jump. I was in the bed with my fiance, and I would be like, ah! And then she'd be like, what? And she jumped. The cat would jump. And then she's like, why are you making everybody jump? I'm like, sorry, man. It's this game. There's even one point in the game where you walk into a house in the village, and there's a note that says, look out the window. And as soon as I read that, I'm like, something's going to pop up when I look out the window. And I looked out the window. Guess what? Something popped up, and it still made me jump. But anyway, yeah, it's just it's very smooth. I feel like this game's more on the easier side. It is creepy, but it's just been a breeze to get through. I think I've only died maybe, I don't know, 3-4 times maybe, and I'm almost at the end. I love all the villains, because you're basically going from villain to villain. Like, you're going to their house or where they live in this village. Yep. And you have to destroy them to collect a piece of your daughter, your baby daughter, who's been like torn apart into pieces. But apparently she's like immortal or something. So you're trying to gather all the pieces to put her back together and bring her back to life. But yeah, each character is like so unique. Their own personalities, their own layers. Their evil layer that you go through. It's like a maze, typical Resident Evil stuff where doors are locked and you got to explore everything. And then at the end, you fight each main villain who transforms into some crazy looking monster. And they're all completely different. I mean, so much creativity went into this. It's just, man, this is it, man. This is like the definition of video games is art. Just storytelling at its finest, and just the most beautiful graphics on display, and just, yeah, it's amazing. I'm on the very last, I guess, underboss or whatever, and I'm assuming there's going to be a final showdown with the main lady at the end, but I haven't gotten there yet. So I probably got, I don't know, maybe an hour and a half left, and I'll be done with it. I was hoping to wrap it up before the podcast, but man, just been so crazy busy with work.
Yeah, I don't know if you were trying to prevent a spoiler of sorts, but sorry if this is a spoiler for people who are playing the game, but at the very beginning, the person that breaks in is Chris Redfield, who comes in to...
That's right, yeah.
It's cool seeing him all like rough and rugged and looking very different from, previous Chris's.
So I'm assuming, yeah, now that you mention it, it was Chris that broke in. See, I played the first opening of the game like 2 months ago.
Right.
And then I picked it back up just last week. So like the very beginning of the game is kind of foggy in my mind. I completely forgot it was Chris. Yeah, and after that, I've only run into Chris a few more times. So I'm wondering if towards the end he's going to play a bigger role. But I guess that just remains to be seen.
You'll find out.
Yes, I'll find out. But
But
yeah, man. Go ahead. What were you
who's
gonna
been
say?
your favorite villain that you've taken out so far?
Okay, the intro was great. I did like Lady D's lair, but I wouldn't say she was my favorite. Uh, the the probably the doll one.
Me too.
Because it was like the shortest level, but it was
And I
just
hate that. Oh, it drives me nuts because I loved it.
yeah, it was just that was the creepiest one. All the other ones I kind of was cranking through, and it was a little bit of tension and a little bit of adrenaline rush and fear, but that level was like pure horror. And that part where all the lights go off and that giant baby monster comes around the hallway in the pitch dark, like crying.
Terrifying.
Oh my god! That was one of the times I jumped. I was like, oh! I was like, oh no, 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 no! Just something about it was just so terrible. Like a baby monster that just keeps crying and won't stop, and it's just hunting you, and you're in the pitch black, except for what your flashlight can see. Oh man, that's gonna haunt me for a long time.
Yeah. Yeah. I need to play. I want to play it over again now hearing you talk about it, dude. The cool thing is they actually introduced a third person mode with the DLC. It's a third person mode, and then you obviously can do the Winter's DLC, which you play as the daughter.
Yeah.
And go back to the mansion.
You know what? I'm not typically one to pick up DLC. Like my preferred method of playing DLC or getting DLC is waiting for a definitive edition to come out. I'm like, just give me everything for one price. Like, don't piecemeal me the stuff. Like, I'm not into that. So when Resident Evil 7 came out with the gold edition on PlayStation 4, I picked that up, and it had the DLC on the disc. Now, they did make a Resident Evil Village, like, definitive edition or gold edition that also comes with all the DLC. But if you buy it on the PlayStation 4, it's just the base game and then a voucher code. So it's not. I'm like, come on, man, give me the DLC on disc. I want to dust this off 20 years from now and then play the complete experience.
Hey, now.
But anyway.
Think positively, all right?
So I ended up just getting the.
We talked about this.
Oh man, the volume keeps popping on in these videos, tripping me out. But but anyway, yeah. I would love to have the physical gold edition, but since that's not a real option on this, I think this is one of those rare occasions that I will shell out the money, buy the season pass, because I definitely want to play through that Winter's DLC and try out the third person.
I have it on my wish list on Xbox. I haven't committed to it yet, just because I have an enormous backlog as well. But I've been seeing it on sale for like 50% off, maybe around $15, like if that. So. Okay. 15, $20. I think it's pretty reasonable. I don't think the expansion is like super long, but then adding the third person mode might also make it, worth it.
Yeah. I wasn't a huge, Resident Evil typically does not have that great a DLC. Like the Resident Evil 7 DLC, the added Chris campaign was okay. But then there was another DLC where you played as the uncle or one of the family members or something, and it literally was just taking you through the same levels from the campaign. Like it didn't seem like anything was new. It was just recycled stuff you're playing through.
I did like that you literally were just punching everything as the uncle though. You just had that contraption just beating the crap out of him the whole time.
It was kind of ridiculous, yeah, because he's just so overpowered. He's like a superhero, so it took all the fear out of playing his portion. And then the V8, the lost tapes, I didn't play any of those. I
read those, and they told people were like, just skip those.
Yeah.
Don't even worry about them.
It just was like some simple little trial modes or something that didn't really appeal to me. I want some story DLC, man. Give me that.
Yes.
Give me that delicious, rich story DLC.
Yep.
But yeah, man, now that I beat this, we really got to play through Outbreak 2.
I'm ready. I'm craving. I'm removed now from RE3, and I'm ready. I'm ready to dive into another one.
All right, cool. And then probably by the time we'll beat that, it'll be Christmas. I'll ask my dear mom. I'll be like, "Hey, will you give me Resident Evil 4 for Christmas? That's all I want." And then I'll play through that, and hopefully I'll be all caught up before they come out with another one.
Yeah, I think of the ones I haven't beat now. I mean, if you don't count some of the originals, I've played the remakes instead, but I still need to beat 0. I never beat 0.
Okay.
I need to beat 4 remake. and then Outbreak Volume 2, and then then the Revelation ones. I haven't beat either of those.
Yeah. I mean, if you can stomach it, go back and play the PlayStation 1 originals.
One day, maybe.
Yeah. There's another one I'm thinking of. Oh, yeah. Operation Raccoon City.
Oh yeah.
I've played some of that. It's not horrible. Like I could see sitting down and playing through it, but I feel like it's one of those games you have to play in co-op. It's like designed to be played in co-op.
All right.
I actually jumped in that game, I think maybe 2 years ago on PlayStation 3, and surprisingly, people were online. Like
Wow.
I was able to join other people. I'm like, who? And first of all, this was like a critically panned game where like nobody liked it. How are there still people playing it on PlayStation 3 online like as recently as 2021?
That's wild to me.
Yeah, and same thing with Resident Evil Revelations, the first one. After I beat that campaign, there's like a online co-op mode, and I hopped in it, and yeah, people were playing it. I'm like, what the heck? And they're like, that game, the co-op mode is not very robust. So I'm like, who is still like actively playing this continuously? Like this is something you jump in and like 4 hours later you've done it all.
You're done.
You've seen everything. So just baffles me. But
Interesting.
yeah. Anyway, man. Yeah, if we can get Operation Raccoon City up and running on PC co-op, I think we should give it a try.
Absolutely.
I know. I think it was server based, and I think all the servers have since shut down. But if it supports LAN play, like I've said in the past, if a PC game supports LAN play, its online will live on forever because you can use those VPN tunneling software to make your own virtual private network, so that you can still take advantage of the LAN play even though the servers are shut down. So if we can jimmy rig something like that together and play it, we should go through that one as well.
All for it.
And Revelations 2. That one, the first one's not full co-op. There's just like this single player, but there is like a small online co-op portion. But the second one is full co-op, and I'm down to play that one with you. I had that one on PS4, but I think you have it on PC, right?
Oh yeah, on Steam. Yeah.
Okay. I'll have to pick it up on PC. Anyway, I've gone on long enough with Resident Evil. What have you been playing lately?
Yeah. This one I'm excited to talk about, and it's really going to kind of keep going with the horror theme that we have for this episode. And I am playing with some of my buddies the Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
Oh, yeah. I'm interested to hear about this one because I loved those movies growing up, and I think that would make a good game.
Yeah, so it's for those who have played a Dead by Daylight or a Friday the 13th, it is very much like that. It is an asymmetrical survival horror game, and it's developed by Sumo Nottingham. And I thought when I was looking at this at who developed it, I thought it was the same people that developed Friday the 13th, but that is not the case.
Oh, I thought it was too.
It's the same publisher, but it's a different developer.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, so this developer, Sumo Nottingham, developed Little Big Planet 3, Crackdown 3, and some of the Sonic racing games. So kind of an interesting bag from them, but they've also co-developed some popular games like Hitman, Hitman 2, the most recent ones, Hogwarts Legacy, and even Call of Duty Vanguard. So they at least helped, develop on some pretty big titles. And yeah, I thought it was interesting that Friday the 13th was a completely separate developer. So it's kind of sad that their game's shutting down, and the publisher opted to go with a new developer for this new game.
Yeah.
But this game features 4 victims, and they are characters from the movies of Texas Chainsaw Massacre, and they're attempting to escape the family of cannibals before they catch and kill them. So there are 4 user-controlled survivors, and then there's 3 user-controlled members of the family or the cannibals that are going to be killing them. And each time when you are the cannibal side or you're the family side, one of them has to be Leatherface. So you could pick between, there are 5 characters for the family side, and it's Leatherface, one called the Cook, the Hitchhiker, Johnny, and then Sissy. So these are a lot of these are very popular characters from the Texas Chainsaw Massacre franchise. Some I actually just read that they are voiced by people who took part in the movies, which is pretty cool that they actually got some of the voice actors to do this, or some of like just the actors, period. So essentially the premise revolves around Anna Flores and her college friends who go searching for their missing sister Maria near Newt, Texas. Very much follows the story of some of the Texas Chainsaw movies. The group is ultimately captured by the Slaughter family, is what they're called, a group of cannibal maniacs. And then gameplay-wise, players begin the match by taking on the role either of a family member or a victim, like I said, with a total of 3 family members, 4 victims, for a total of 7 players in a match. A match is set on one of 3 maps: the Slaughter family house, gas station, and then a slaughterhouse. So there's only 3 maps, but they put in like, it's just, they're all so complex. The games feel fresh every time, even if there are only 3 maps right now. And so each map has a day and night variation. And then all the victims, as I said, have to go against Leatherface, of course, as one of the family members. So the victims, they start by being in restraints. Leatherface has been in the basement. He is whoever the person. There's like 5 playable survivors, and whoever the survivor that isn't picked is the one where it shows at the beginning of the match that Leatherface has already hung them up and cut them up. So it shows him like doing that right before the match starts. And so all the victims are shown tied up like they're about to be cut up, but they all of them get loose, and then they start running around. That's when the match begins, once you get loose from your ties. And basically the premise of the game is the victims want to escape the property. The 3 killers want to take out all of the survivors before they escape the property. You do that essentially, the victims do that by gathering supplies throughout their run. Like they can get little lock picks to start picking doors, and like picking doors like is skill checks, and it takes time. And so they're trying to get out of the basement first and then off the property second. So they have to it's a lot of like collecting, but it's also avoiding all of the killers that are running around trying to find you at the same time. And while the survivors, while they're trying to find stuff to get them out, a lot of picks and turning off like power generators to shut off like electricity that's keeping the doors from opening or whatever. The killers are, while obviously they're trying to hunt them, they're also trying to feed Grandpa, who is sitting in his chair during the entire match. So there's a Grandpa who just sits in his rocking chair, and he has his own powers that you can get. You feed him blood from when you smack the victims. You gather blood, the killers do, and you feed that blood to the Grandpa, and the Grandpa does this big loud shout, and he can like locate where the survivors are with his power of like shouting. It's the funniest thing ever. But like the survivors can go and mess with Grandpa and hit him and disorient him, so like he can't use his power. But like the more blood the killers feed Grandpa, the more times he'll do that bellowing that makes it so he can locate the survivors. So there's a kind of a little bit of a layer in there as well. It's also a lot of like Dead by Daylight-esque stuff. Like there's a lot of like crawling through crawl spaces, going through tight corners that the killers can't go through, so you can escape them if you are getting chased. But the killers can also set traps. Leatherface can like completely use his chainsaw to destroy little things that little crawl spaces or like little crevices that the survivors can go through to make it easy to get away from them. So yeah, there's a ton of layers too. Well, there's only 3 maps. It's very detailed. There's a ton of stuff going on during that time. It gets really nerve-wracking, but it's fun with your friends to be, all 4 of you being like, all right, I got this door open. I got this door open. All right, we can go through this way. If you could find where I'm at, I got this door open. We can get outside. But when you're just getting out the basement is like the first like challenge. You still got to get off the property, which is its own set of challenges. So yeah, it's a very big game of hide and seek, but a really fun game, and it's been a lot of fun to play with my friends. And it's nice because Dead by Daylight, there's only one killer, and you can't have, so sometimes my friends and I want to play killer on Dead by Daylight before this game came out, but we're like, well, dang, we can't play together because there's only one killer. But with this, like, if we want to play killer, you can play with up to 3 people. So it's kind of a fun layer to have 3 of us. Like my buddy was I was Leatherface, and one of my other buddies was like luring this guy to me, and once this guy opened the door, I just come through the chainsaw and just start revving the crap out of him. And it's like it's the greatest feeling when your teammate sets you up for an easy kill.
Yeah, so is it pretty good with the matchmaking to where if you're in a group of friends, it will put all of you either on the killer's team or on the survivor's team?
Yeah, before you even queue, you have to queue for either survivor or killer. So you're always going to be whatever you queue as.
Okay.
And your friends are always going to be on your team.
Nice.
Yeah, it's a whole matchmaking system, very well put together.
Excellent. All right, so there's been a lot of these asymmetrical horror games. There even was a Resident Evil one, but I heard that was terrible. I never played it. Did you ever try that, the Reverse or whatever?
No, I watched Twitch streams on it, and it didn't, it looked like a good idea, but just didn't hit the mark, I don't think.
Yeah, it looks super jank to me when I watch some gameplay footage, which is unfortunate. But Dead by Daylight is obviously like the longest running one that probably has the biggest player base. But have you played any other asymmetrical horror games? Have you played Friday the 13th? Have you played the Evil Dead game? Have you played, there's even some like lesser known indie ones, like one called, I think, White Noise, and a few others. Have you played any other ones other than the Texas Chainsaw Massacre and Dead by Daylight?
I've played what was the one that you said? There was Friday the 13th and the Evil Dead game. I do own the Evil Dead game, and I have played that quite a bit. That is fun, but it's a little bit even more different from both Texas Chainsaw and Dead by Daylight. In Evil Dead, one guy is kind of the killer, I guess you could say, is kind of like playing like he's like kind of like God almost, like where he's like sending things like into you, and then he's building up and getting more powerful, and just kind of like just sending stuff at you and having all these powers at his arsenal. But he's not really like an actual killer that's coming and like running and coming to get you. Like he can possess like vehicles if you're in a vehicle and run you off the road or something, or he can like just keep sending mobs of enemies at you, or take control of one of your teammates and start basically team killing. So it's more like it's not as exactly the same, but it is a pretty cool layer as well, and it also is that 4v1 style though.
I've been meaning to try that one because out of all these franchises, Evil Dead is near and dear to my heart and probably my favorite. I love Friday the 13th. I love the Texas Chainsaw Massacre. But yeah, the Evil Dead one, even if that's like just a good game and not a great game, I still need to check it out.
Did you ever play, it was not around for very long, but it was hyped like crazy. It was called Evolve?
Yeah, I wanted to play that so bad, and I never did. But that looks so cool.
Kind of a similar.
Did you play Evolve?
No, I never played it. I think by the time I even got around to it, like it was just dead. Like it seemed like it came and went real quick.
Yeah, which is very interesting to me because Evolve seemed like it had the coolest concept. Because you're like humans facing a giant like Godzilla monster that's evolving and getting stronger. And that's the first game I can think of that had an asynchronous multiplayer. And then that one fizzled so quick, so I'm surprised that all these other development studios gave a try at asynchronous multiplayer and had more success, because I would have thought Evolve out of all of them would have been the best one. I would love to go back and play that, but I just don't think there's any way you can anymore. I think it's all been shut down, which is another reason why these online-only games drive me nuts. And they should be designed to where even if they shut down the servers, if some people want to play LAN, they should be able to. It shouldn't be the death of the game. All that hard work of developing that game over years, and then just now nobody will ever be able to play it again.
Right. It reminds me more of Evil Dead with that the monster is continually getting stronger as the game progresses, and then Evil Dead, the person who's the power, the killer, whatever you want to call it, gains levels as he does more damage to the survivors, or as the game goes on, he gains more level as well and gets more powerful to the point where my friends and I never win that one, because I feel like the killer person gets way too powerful. We can't handle it.
Dang. All right, well, speaking of Dead by Daylight, I know you're a fan of that game, and I know that they've released like a bajillion DLCs to keep adding different killers to the game.
Yep.
And I've got this list pulled up. It says there are currently 33 playable killers in Dead by Daylight. Many of them like specifically made up for the game, but also many of them are from well-known franchises, including Leatherface from the Texas Chainsaw Massacre. So it is interesting that he now has his own standalone game, but he's also in Dead by Daylight. They also have Michael Myers, Freddy Krueger, Amanda Young, aka the pig from Saw. Who else do they have? They got Ghostface from Scream. They've got the Demogorgon from
Stranger Things,
which I think that's cool. They got that one in there. They got Pyramid Head from Silent Hill, which is, I am baffled that they were able to get the rights to that. And they've got Nemesis from Resident Evil. They've got Pinhead from Hellraiser. How do you pronounce this? Onryu?
I think Onryu. Yeah, that sounds
Onryu
right.
from The Ring, right?
Yep, from The Ring.
And then they've got Albert Wesker from Resident Evil. And the most recent edition. What was it?
Yeah, I was going to say most recently.
Yeah, and most recently they just added the Xenomorph, aka the alien from the Aliens franchise, which is totally awesome.
My buddies and I played against that last night because we were very curious, because they just released it, and man, that thing kicked our butt. Seems very powerful and a very good killer.
Nice. So have you been playing Dead by Daylight since the beginning, like before they released any DLC, or when did you give this game a try for the first time?
I think I joined and started playing right when they had the Demogorgon. That's probably, it looks like this is in the list of how many of this list that you and I are looking at is in order of when they came out. Oh. So basically I think halfway through is when I started playing, or I guess halfway through the list of killers. Yeah, Demogorgon's when I started, and I think Oni came right after.
Okay. So two questions. Are all of these killers still in the game? Like, have they managed to maintain the license for all these ones they added that are not original to the game?
The only one so they're all still in the game, but you can no longer, from my understanding, you can no longer purchase Demogorgon or any of the Stranger Things DLC, because they actually have some of the survivors. Some of the survivors are Stranger Things characters as well. But if you purchase it already, it's one of those scenarios where you can still play it, but you can't buy it. So it's still in the game, but if you don't own it, you can't use it.
Yeah, that's interesting. The Stranger Things property seems like, I don't know, like it's always time stuff. Because I remember they released like a free VR Stranger Things experience where you basically just walk through the house and then face a Demogorgon at the end, and that was taken offline. And I didn't know why. I was like, why wouldn't they just keep that up? Why would that be like some... Again, it goes back to why put all this work into something just to take it down so nobody can ever experience it again. But that's the second occurrence I know of related to Stranger Things of a video game just being now unavailable.
Yeah, because Nancy Wheeler and Steve Harrington, two of the characters from Stranger Things, were the survivors that they have available. They actually have some other cool survivors. Like they just released Nicolas Cage as a survivor.
Nice.
Which I think is just... We were hoping Nicolas Cage would be a killer, which I think would be even cooler, but... and then they've got like a lot of Silent Hill 2 characters that are also survivors.
That's interesting. I didn't even think about that. I'm so fixated on the killers. I didn't realize that they brought in characters from these franchises to be the survivors too. Because it looks like they brought in Ellen Ripley from Aliens as well. Although a lot of these are like nothing like Sigourney Weaver, so maybe they couldn't get her likeness. They could get the character, but not Sigourney Weaver.
Yeah, they all come in like DLC packs. So like a lot of these DLC packs come with both the killer that they have and then survivor characters as well. And they all have their own traits so that you can use on these characters.
Interesting. Well, hopefully they can maintain the licenses for all these characters. And question, do you have all the DLC? Have you bought in everything?
No. Oh, no. It's just too much, man. That's just too much money. And honestly, you get just as good of an experience with... I mean, you don't have to get the DLC characters, even though like sometimes their perks are really good and you want those perks to like use for a character. And essentially with any of these characters, you can mix and match perks. So like you can play as Nancy Wheeler, but you can use a Cheryl Mason, for example, perk on Nancy Wheeler. So while each character has their own set of perks, they can be shared between any of the survivors. So you can mix and match them.
Interesting. So just looking at the Steam page, so right now I just realized the game is free to play for the weekend.
50% off too.
Yeah, which is nice. I played this game very, very briefly years ago. This came out a while ago, didn't it? 2016.
Yeah, quite a while ago.
Yeah, so I think I played it like 2017 on another free weekend. And yeah, so they've got, right now it's on sale, half off for $10. So yeah, the base game's pretty cheap. But the Resident Evil collaboration bundle is $25 by itself on sale. Otherwise, it's $44. And then
because of the base game plus those characters, obviously.
Oh, so that's I see. It's the base game and that. Okay. I thought that was just for the DLC. I was going to say, yeah, and then they've got a similar bundle with the Silent Hill stuff, which is typically $60, but right now it's $29. So yeah, I'm just curious to see like how much the killer packs are. So the Alien chapter pack that they just released is $12. Nicolas Cage chapter pack is $10. So does it like come with more than just him? Is that like a whole level to go along with it?
No, the levels are all free. The levels are just basically add-ons to the game itself. I want to say like a lot of them come like packaged with killer, survivor, and maybe like, I don't know, maybe some like skins for the character as well, maybe.
Okay, it's throwing me off because they're calling them chapters, which makes me feel like they've got some...
So chapters are kind of
level.
like, they're like seasons, like, like a Fortnite season. That's basically like their chapters. But like you can have skins for characters too, because obviously you got to monetize the hell out of everything. So while Cheryl Mason is a playable character who is the main character of Silent Hill 3, they actually just released skins for her, and you can change her out to look like James Sunderland from Silent Hill 2 or Maria from Silent Hill 2, and I think maybe like one other person, but that costs real money as well.
Yeah. So it looks like the DLCs went on sale range anywhere from $2. Oh, excuse me. Yeah, $2.50 to about $12 for the most recent Alien one that came out. And then there's Killer Expansion Pack.
Yeah, that's all their non-licensed ones, I believe.
Okay, that's what it looks like. It says it comes with 11 killers. Yeah. Okay, and that's $18. So. Yeah, if you catch it on sale, I think that's not too bad. But yeah, with all that DLC, I think it would add up to quite a bit, because apparently it's saying there's 40 individual DLC items. Holy
yeah,
crap.
I think the only ones I've purchased are the Silent Hill bundle, because I really wanted Cheryl and the Executioner, or Pyramid Head, since I'm a big fan of that franchise. But I'm also like debating on possibly moving over to Steam. I currently play on Xbox Game Pass, and sometimes that game with Game Pass and playing with my friends does not jive together for whatever reason. It is backward. It is like cross-play, cross-platform. So you can play with people that are on Steam, which is fine. But I also I have to use my regular gamer tag on Xbox too, and I kind of want to use my Steam name, which is the Hills Are Silent Podcast, and to do a little marketing when I'm playing Dead by Daylight. People can click my profile, which has our link tree in it, and can go check out the Hills Are Silent Podcast.
For sure, man. That's our demographic right there. Our demographic.
Exactly. So it's like I kind of want to move over to Steam, but we'll see.
Yeah. So now that they're shutting down the Friday the 13th game, I think that they should add Jason to the killer list, because they got Leatherface, they have Freddy, they've got Michael Myers. They really are just missing Jason to like really round off those classic slasher killers. And
yeah, definitely.
I suspect the only reason why they don't already have Jason is probably because there was a standalone Friday the 13th game that's directly competing with them. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, they probably weren't able to get the license because of that. But anyway,
it's only a matter of time. Sometime next year, I bet. Once obviously the server shut down on that game, he's coming.
It's time. He's a free agent at that point.
Yeah, exactly. Due for a big contract.
All right, so you and I thought it'd be fun to go over some characters that Dead by Daylight should license, because they have a great list here, but they could always add more. So we compiled the list, and first and foremost, the most obvious to me is they just added the xenomorph, the alien. Where's the Predator? Now, although there was a Predator asynchronous multiplayer game that was released not all that long ago. Do you remember that?
Really?
Yeah, it was like Predator Hunting Grounds or something.
Oh, yeah. I don't think it did very well.
But I don't think it did either. They gave it away for free on PlayStation Plus, so if the servers are still up, I need to check that out before nobody's playing it anymore and the servers get shut down, and we also need to check out Friday the 13th.
I have still seen people, even with Texas Chainsaw coming out, still playing Friday the 13th, so I think, I think they like both for different reasons.
Yeah, man. Variety, spice of life. But
That's right.
It could be a similar situation with the Predator, where because there was its own standalone game, they weren't able to get the license, or maybe that's coming down the pipeline. Maybe that's what they have queued up as their next killer. All right, so the next one, I don't know I can't remember if you suggested this one or if I suggested this one, but they're the clown from Stephen King's It.
Yep.
I mean, come on, man. That made a huge resurgence with the recent films. Like, that would be great to add. And I think you could make a really creepy level around the It theme.
They do have a clown in Dead by Daylight, but he does not look anything like the It clown. And they do have sort of like a level based around clown, but it's also not very cool compared to what they could do with the It property.
Yeah. Yeah, the clown they already have. He's creepy looking. He's more like John
actual
Wayne
circus
Gacy clown than he is supernatural It clown.
Well, like his like powers, or I guess like his like killer perks is like he like has this like I don't even know like potion concoction that he always is like swirling around and he chucks it and like it makes the survivors cough and slow down and so he can like close the distance in and then like stab him with his knife. So I mean, kind of interesting, but yeah, I feel like they could do a lot with the It property.
Yeah. All right, so next up is the Creeper from Jeepers Creepers. I mean, come on, that would be perfect. He's a big menacing monster.
Yeah, that would be perfect.
And yeah, I just think he totally fits the Dead by Daylight universe. And what I find interesting about this guy is his look has changed like in every movie. I remember from the first movie to the second movie, he got like way creepier looking in the second movie. And then after that, he got like more bat-like over time, almost looking. But I've got this cool
there
picture.
You go. They even have ways they can license new skins for him as
exactly.
well. I mean, they can monetize the crap out of that.
Do any of the other killers have multiple skins? Or just the
Yes.
survivors?
All of them have multiple skins.
Dang.
Yep.
But yeah, I got this real creepy picture I found online of the Jeepers Creepers guy with his head. His head does open up, which is just, man, that was a magnificent creature design. Whoever made this monster makeup for this movie. Next up is The Nun, which is really popular right now from the Conjuring series of films. Yep. You could have a good level around the Nun based in a creepy cathedral.
Oh, that would be cool. They actually have a Raccoon City in Dead by Daylight as one of the levels for Nemesis, which is pretty cool.
Nice. Man, you're really making me want to play some Dead by Daylight. It's on free play this weekend. Wait, and you said it's on Game Pass, right?
Yep.
So, and I think I got it for free on PlayStation Plus. So I got like a million ways to play this. I have no excuse not to be playing this. All right, next up is my personal pick, which is Pumpkinhead from the old Pumpkinhead movies. Now, those movies were not really that great, but Pumpkinhead is just such a unique, iconic monster design. And again, he's huge and menacing. So I think it'd be perfect to have as a killer in Dead by Daylight. But if you don't know what Pumpkinhead looks like and you're not watching this in the video form, you're just listening to it, look it up. It is like the coolest creature design ever.
That would be a great like Halloween like introduction for their like, you know, Halloween event or whatever they do during that time. Like, that'd be good.
Yeah. All right, and one you suggested was Ruvik?
Ruvik. Yeah, I wanted to find like another video game property, but man, like that's kind of hard to do. We were kind of saying there's not a lot of like video game properties that have real intimidating, menacing like bosses or villains, unlike what they already have in Silent Hill and Resident Evil.
Yeah. Yeah, you're right. When you and I were brainstorming, I just really couldn't come up with anything. So, yeah,
I feel like they could
do
do crossover
crossover with Silent Hill and Resident Evil,
yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. If there's something obvious we're not thinking of, let us know, man. I feel like there should be.
Yeah, I like the Evil Within one quite a bit, and Ruvik is pretty creepy. I don't know what they could do with them though, but I doubt it. I think it's too niche of a, video game for them to really be like, yeah, bring that property in.
Yeah, very niche. I don't like when you told me about him. I beat the Evil Within 1, but I didn't even remember who the main villain was. When you're like Ruvik, I couldn't even picture him in my head. So, and I don't think he was in the second game, was he? Evil Within 2?
No, he wasn't.
Hey, because of that, he's probably cheap to license, so maybe they could get him easily.
Yeah, there we go.
All right, so the last one, which I don't have a picture of, is Chucky, which I think you said one of your buddies suggested. Which, of course, I mean they've got all the main slasher icons. Where's Chucky?
And with them, they already have like, I don't know if the technology is the word, but they already have something similar in the game that they could like utilize. They have I don't know what the killer is called. I can't remember. It might be like the orphan or some crap like that. I can't remember what they call that killer. But there's one killer that has like a little baby with them, and they can drop the baby, and like the baby will, they can take control of the baby, and it'll just like sprint around like crazy, kind of like Chucky does, and it'll jump on a survivor, and that survivor has to like beat the crap out of this little like baby thing and like tear it off them. And then, that's just a way to slow down the survivors so that the killer can kind of gain ground on them.
Yeah, I think that'd be spooky because unlike the big monsters, you wouldn't really see Chucky coming until he's like snuck right up on you, and you're like, "Oh, geez, where did you come from?"
Ghostface or Scream scares me the most of like any killer because he is the literal stealthy killer in that game where he just creeps around corners, and you can usually, your heartbeat gets louder if you hear the killer coming, but he has more perks that keeps him silent. So he'll just come out of nowhere and just stab the crap out of you, and all our friends are just screaming and jumping and sprinting away in every direction. So it's pretty fun.
All right, well, that's our list, aka suggestions of killers to add to Dead by Daylight. Episode's running pretty long, but we've got 2 more topics we really want to cover, so I think we're going to go ahead and crank them out. First being, I don't know if you haven't heard the news yet or not, everybody, but another price hike. I mean, we've got all the streaming services raising their prices, and Xbox Game Pass just raised their price, and then now the next person in line is PlayStation Plus gets a, as I quote, significant price increase next week. So this article reads, today Sony announced the next slate of monthly games for the month of September. It also revealed that each subscription tier of PlayStation Plus is getting a significant price bump. So on September 6th, 12-month subscriptions for PlayStation Plus Essential, Extra, and Premium will be raised to the following prices. Essential will go from $59.99 to $79.99, so that is a $20 price increase. Extra is going from $99.99 to $134.99. That's a $35 price increase. And then Premium is going from $119.99 to $159.99, which is a $40 price increase. So this is not just them raising it by $5-10, but I mean, granted, this is for a year subscription, so you divide that by 12 months, it doesn't sound as crazy. I mean, it's $80 divided by 12 months. Don't make me do that math, but it's less than $10 a month.
Well, like compare it to like Nintendo's online service, and like don't get me wrong, Nintendo's online service is pretty crappy, like playing games with people. They're very behind the times, but they do give you some other benefits like their catalog of N64, Game Boy, Game Boy Advance, Super Nintendo, regular Nintendo, Sega. They give you all those like games that they have in that catalog, and I think that's only like $20 a year, maybe $30 at the most. So I mean,
yeah, and I remember when PlayStation Online, I think, was $50 a month. So they had already had one price increase since the days of PlayStation 3. Now, it's only recently that they've split this into 3 different memberships. It used to just be PlayStation Plus, and there's just one tier. Now there's 3 tiers, and I remember when they first brought this up, or they first announced this, none of it really like appealed to me. I was like, just give me the cheapest one. I just want to play online and get my free monthly games. That's all I care about. So just a reminder to everybody what these tiers are now. So the cheapest one, the Essential plan, is you get your free monthly games, you get your online multiplayer, and you get some exclusive discounts in the PlayStation Store. It also includes share play, whatever that is, game help, cloud storage, and exclusive content, whatever that means. They're not really like very descriptive on what those mean.
Really
But
trying to
anyway,
sell it over there.
the next tier, the extra, you get all the great benefits included in the PlayStation Plus Essentials plan, as well as access to the game catalog featuring hundreds of games from genre-defining blockbusters to innovative indies with new titles added regularly. So you basically get access to a game library, kind of like
This is them trying to do a Game Pass model.
yeah, pretty much. So you get a game catalog, and then you also get Ubisoft Plus Classics. So it sounds like in addition to the game library they're offering, you also get a library of Ubisoft games.
Yeah, I'm guessing it's like how Game Pass does with EA games. Like they partner with EA and you get all of their EA Play games included in Game Pass.
I'd like to know the game catalog.
I know, I wish they would like easily show you. I guess you can. There's an all games at the top, but I don't know if it'll tell you which ones are for which. But
all right, I'm trying to see if I can find the list. I think they would want to have that front and center to kind of.
well, there's the overview where you're at. Right, if you scroll all the way to the top, there is an all games A to Z.
Okay. Where?
But they don't organize the games.
I see.
Okay.
I think that's what I was just looking at. I think I ended up on that same page through a Google search.
Okay.
Next adventure waits. I mean, not surprisingly, it's a lot of stuff published by Sony, and of course, it looks like they're mixing in the Ubisoft games in here too, because I see Assassin's Creed. It's a lot. It is a lot. But is this like a cloud service, or is this like actually you can download it to your console?
I believe it is like a download to your console sort of service.
If that's the case, then it's actually a good deal, because this is a lot of freaking games.
Yeah, but I'm wondering though if this game's, because there's another tier there is that extra tier, but there's also the essential tier. I wonder what they hide through that one instead of
Okay.
like how many you get compared to it.
Okay, yeah. So the next one up is the premium, PlayStation Plus Premium, which includes all the benefits from before, as well as game trials for newer games, I'm assuming, or maybe other games, and also cloud streaming. So I think the premium... Okay, so I'm assuming you're right. Assuming the game catalog and the extras is you actually being able to download them. And then the premium is the one that also includes cloud streaming. But again, I would like to know the list of those. But I do know that it also says that you get PlayStation Classics to play, which is like PSP games, PS1 games, PS2 games, which is pretty cool, and PS3 games. Cool. And then the cloud streaming, enjoy streaming access to a wide range of PlayStation 4 games from the game catalog and hundreds of PlayStation 3, PlayStation 2 games and more from the classic catalog. So the website's just kind of confusing. I just want to know like what has to be streamed, what's included, what's streaming only that I have to go through the premium, and then what's just the games that I can do with the medium tier, the extra tier. It's not a very clear explanation of that.
If you scroll, I don't even know where you're at actually. In the overview, the overview section, you can like scroll down and hit like, I wonder if this will, okay, their site just sucks. Never mind. Don't worry about it.
Yeah, it's just not very straightforward on what's what. Anyway. Okay, yeah, I see monthly games, game catalog, classic games.
Yeah, and you can click some of those and they'll show you them, but man, they just it's kind of just rough looking at, like, going through all these.
Yeah, it's just all over the place. I just want the list, man. Just give me the list.
Yeah, I don't need to see, like, I don't need to click a button to see every, like, picture of
Yeah.
every game.
I mean, even with the price hikes, I can say it's not that bad of a deal because the extra it was a real good deal before the price hikes because the extra is $100 a year, which again is less than $10 a month, and you could just buy your PlayStation 4, your PlayStation 5, and then just go with the extra, and then for $100 a year, you basically have access to tons and tons of games.
Yeah.
So then, if you're not like me and you don't care about actually physically owning the game or even digitally owning the game permanently, because this you lose access to it as soon as you stop paying a subscription. If you're just like somebody who's like, hey, I just want the console, I want to pay one flat fee and just give me a bunch of games to play. I don't care, which is great. I mean, we definitely are living in the future with Game Pass and even with this service where you can pay $10 a month. Well, now it's going to go up to like, I don't know, $10.50 a month if you get the extra tier. But even then, that's a good deal because you think about it, a brand new game these days is like $70. So for a game and a half, you can have access to a massive library, and it is a beautiful thing to be able to sit back on your couch and just be like, what do I want to play today? And instead of looking at a small library of games that you may actually own because they're so expensive to purchase, you just open up. Just like Netflix, just open it up. Got 150 games at my fingertips. What am I in the mood to play today? I mean, it is really amazing if you think about it. Game Pass, this service, any other service that's like a games on demand where you're just paying a subscription fee to a huge library. For very cheap. It is relatively cheap. They're all about $10-15 a month, which, it's incredible, man. We're living in the future. We are spoiled.
And just like Netflix, you take an hour to figure out what to play instead of...
And then you fall asleep and don't play anything. That's my problem. Every time I open up Game Pass, I'm like, by the time I find something and start the download, I'm like, I'm out, man.
Yep.
That's why it's great talking to you or other people who can just recommend something good to me. So I can be like, man, I'd rather somebody just be like, play this next, instead of me having to sift through 200 games to figure out what I'm in the mood for and then really think about it. All right, very last topic. Anything else you want to cover on this?
No, I mean, I prefer Game Pass just because I like that the Xbox new games, like next week Starfield comes out. I get Starfield the day it comes out. Doesn't happen with that PlayStation service with their PlayStation games, so I think that's kind of one of the big differences why I really love Game Pass. But I think you can't go wrong with any option. If you have PlayStation or Xbox, having these services where you could have a Netflix-type library is awesome. Wish I had it when I was a kid.
Absolutely, man. That's what I'm saying. We are living in the golden age. And even though it's not as good as Game Pass, Sony is catching up, and Game Pass is amazing. So even if you're not as good as Game Pass, you can still be good.
Absolutely.
All right, so this last topic, a few episodes back, we talked about there was a big company that bought up just tons and tons of game studios as fast as they possibly could to spend a ton of money on acquisitions. Then, of course, they got a little overambitious. And I think they were relying on an investment that didn't come through.
Yes, they're relying on an investment that would have given them rights to use the Lord of the Rings property that they were going to market the crap out of with games, essentially. But it fell through.
No, but I thought the company was getting like some $1 billion outside investment, and then they basically, I don't know, the story sounded like that they were expecting some huge investment, and they jumped the gun and were overambitious and started basically buying stuff before the check cleared. And then when the check didn't clear, all of a sudden they're like, oh man, we can't afford to keep all this stuff and keep it running. So, what was it? What was the name of the company? Embracer Group?
Embracer Group, yes.
Okay, yeah. So anyway, they bought up tons of games studios, and then I guess an investment deal fell through. I don't know, somebody can correct me if I'm wrong about that. My memory's not that great. So The
Okay,
concern
here we go.
was
I've got the it says the company, which spent several years snapping up a wealth of gaming studios and the rights to many noble franchises, noted that a long in the works $2 billion investment opportunity vanished at the 11th hour.
so that's what I thought.
Axios recently reported that the Saudi government funded Savvy Games Group, which is the Lord of the Rings they have the Lord of the Rings property, had a verbal agreement before the deal fell apart.
Dude, don't spend your money before the check clears. Life lesson right there. And even more beyond that, when the check does clear, don't spend that money. Save it or invest it. Anyway, financial advice.
Another financial advice podcast in the works here.
Financial advice aside, the thing was after that deal fell through, now they have to sell a bunch of these studios or close them down, or they just can't afford to keep all these operating. So, they bought up a lot of studios, but it was unclear which ones would get shut down. Well, just recently, Volition Games released a statement saying that they're one of the victims of this and they're getting shut down. So this is what they posted. The Volition team has proudly created world-class entertainment for fans around the globe for 30 years. We've been driven by a passion for our community and always worked to deliver joy, surprise, and delight. This past June, Embracer Group announced a restructuring program, aka they're laying a bunch of people off, to strengthen Embracer. That wasn't in this quote. I just said that on the side for the listeners. But to strengthen Embracer and maintain its position as a leader in the video game industry. As part of that program, they evaluated strategic and operational goals and made the difficult decision to close Volition effective immediately. Wow, this is a bunch of PR, just bull crap, man. I mean, oh my God.
And from what I was reading before this statement came out, employees of Volition were posting on Twitter that they were getting laid off and the studio was shutting down before this came, which that does tend to happen.
Yeah. Anyway, to finish this out, to help our team, we are working to provide job assistance and help smooth the transition for our Volition family members. We thank our customers and fans around the world for all the love and support over the years. You will always be in our hearts. Volition Games. It's just, when I read these statements, I'm like, come on, man, just keep it real. Be like, hey, the people who bought us out messed up, and now they can't afford to keep us, so they're laying off everybody at the company because of their mistake. Like, that's the not so nice version of this, but the more truthful version of this.
Mm-hmm.
So Volition, they've created a lot of great games over the years, and as that statement mentioned, they've been creating games for 30 years. So their first game that they released, they were actually known as Parallax Software back then, was Descent. And that was a pretty awesome, like, free roaming shooter. Then they followed it up with Descent 2 in 96. Then they rebranded as Volition. Then they released another Descent game. They released Free Space, Summoner, which is an RPG on PlayStation 2 that I see at used game stores all the time. And I've almost picked it up a bunch of times, but just, I don't know, never pulled the trigger on it. They released Red Faction, which I beat that on PlayStation 2, and I couldn't stand that game. I do not recommend it at all. It's terrible. Then they released Summoner 2. Then they released Red Faction 2, which I never played. Then they released The Punisher, which I heard was a good game. I've been meaning to play that one. Then they released the first Saints Row 2, Red Faction Guerrilla, which actually is an amazing game, and I recommend that to everybody. Then they released
love those Saints Row games, man.
Yeah, then they released Red Faction Armageddon, which I never played. Then they released Saints Row the 3rd, which I beat that. That was good. Saints Row the 4th, I think you and I played through some of that.
That's kind of when the Saints Row started going a little bit downhill compared to the first three.
Yeah, it got crazy then. Basically, like, you become Superman. It goes from the series went from like a Grand Theft Auto clone to all of a sudden like a superhero game.
Saints Row 1 was literally all about gang violence, and that was what it was. There was a whole game mode online called Protect the Pimp, where you literally have to protect one pimp who is like, I guess if he dies, you lose the round.
Man, that game is totally a product of its time, because that came out in 2006. There's no way that would fly in today's game world.
The craziest part is that the pimp had a big giant hand, and he could smack the crap out of anybody in one hit, kill them during the game.
Dang.
Which is just insane to me. Yeah, and would never jive with today's age.
That's hilarious. Saints Row 1 and 2, so many of my friends told me those were great games. Those are like those two games. There were two games that I regret not playing when they were in their heyday.
Yeah, good times online, man. We played those till like the wee hours of the morning. Shout out to my dad for letting me have that. He was very close to not letting me have that with the amount of rated R and literally everything that you can or rated M for mature, and like everything that you could have for an M-rated game, this game had it.
That ESRB tag on the back was just a long laundry list of everything offensive in the game.
Gambling, drugs, violence, sex, blood, you name it, man. It had it.
Awesome. But that's how games were, man. Like the early 2000s, everything was trying to push the boundaries and just be like the most offensive, raunchy, just violent it could possibly be. Good era to grow up through. I'll tell you that. And I grew up to be a responsible, well-adjusted adult. So obviously, it did not have a negative impact on who I am playing all those games. So lastly, they released Agents of Mayhem, which I think was a failure, and then Saints Row, the reboot, which was not critically received. So I think that also may have been the nail in the coffin in the studio. So yeah, for like the past 5 years, they haven't managed to release a hit, unfortunately, because they've got some great stuff in their back catalog.
Mm-hmm.
But speaking of the Saints Row reboot, that is this month's free game on PlayStation Plus. So I guess as a farewell to Volition, everybody can enjoy the last game they released as a free game on PlayStation Plus.
I will claim it, but will I ever play it? Probably not.
You really got me wanting to go back and play Saints Row 1 and 2, because I have those for Xbox 360. And
the campaigns, like aside from the multiplayer, very solid campaigns for its time, for sure.
Man, I wonder if anyone's still online on the multiplayer, because it sounds like it's pretty sweet. If it's backwards compatible on the Xbox Series X, then likely somebody's playing it.
Yeah, that'd be interesting to find out.
I'm curious. Saints Row backwards compatible.
I bet it is.
According to this Reddit post, the second one is.
Okay.
And then what about the first one? Here's like the main list. Saints Row 1 and 2.
Yep.
All right, man. I might have to redeem another free Xbox Games with Gold voucher that I still have, and then hop on Saints Row 1 and 2 just to mess around in it. But yeah, man, we've gone way over on time. Who can call any last words about Volition?
Nope. Let's close it out.
All right, everybody. If you tuned in till the end, we greatly appreciate it. Glad to have you. Glad to talk with you. So that'll do it for this episode. You can find all our episodes on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts. Mitch, close it out.
You can find us on our social media accounts. Our Twitter's @TheHillsAreSilent. Our Instagram is Instagram.com/HillsAreSilent. Our TikTok is @TheHillsAreSilent Podcast. YouTube again, @TheHillsAreSilent. Questions, comments, anything at all, hit us up our email inbox. We would love to read them during our next pod. tillsersilent@gmail.com. We will catch you on the next episode.